Okay, so we now have a thing called array lists. They're, we learned about arrays last unit, and arrays are powerful. You could have 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 test scores in a single variable, and then work with it, in a very efficient way. Array lists have an advantage over arrays, and that's that you can change their size over time. Because I think hopefully you all remember an array, you say how big it's going to be at the very beginning, and then you can't change that. So an array list starts off empty, and then you add or delete objects as needed. So also array lists only hold object data, not primitive data. So object data like our frog class or some student class or strings, but they don't hold regular int or double variables. We'll get to that. But here's an example of making a new array list with strings in it. You say array list, and then between a greater than and less than symbol, you say what kind of object type it is, and then you give it a name, and then you do our usual thing over on the right side. It's just like saying scanner scan equals new scanner system.in. It's the same process. We're saying what we're creating, what it's going to be called, and we say the word new, and then again we say what it is, and then we have the empty parentheses over here. That's because we're calling the constructor of the ArrayList class, and you always have to have parentheses on the end of a new call. So I just copied that line over again, and I'm saying note the object type between the greater than less than symbols. That's, in this case, it's string. If we were making an array list of frog objects, it would be the word frog. Anyway, that command creates an empty array list. And then to add data, we use the .add method. So this adds new information to the end of the array list. So here's, again, that same call. I'm creating an empty array list called names. And I say names.add Frankie, Hayes, Gilgamesh. And then if I print out names, here's another difference from regular arrays. You can just print an array list, and it goes ahead and prints it with square brackets around the information. So when we say add for the first item, that's right here. And when we say add again, it goes on the end. And we say add again, it goes to the end. So you can keep adding things. It'll just keep tacking them onto the end. And Alonso, you asked on the chat, are the commas in between? Yeah, the commas, it prints the commas. So like all other Java index values, ArrayList elements start at item 0, and they go up to 1 less than the size of the array list. For better or worse, to find out how big an array list is, you use the .size method, as opposed to .length with no parentheses or .length with parentheses. Seems a little crazy, but that's the way they did it. So I give an example here. If we printed that, my example from the previous page, names.size, we'd get a 3. I'll show you this all in use in a minute. Another method we're going to use today is called .get. That's how we get elements out of the array list. With irregular arrays, you use square brackets. You say item 0 with the square brackets, or item I. And in array lists, we use the .get call. Everywhere where you would have used the square brackets with an array, we're going to use .get. Well, maybe not everywhere, but many of the places. So with the example here, where index 0 is Frankie, index 1 is Hayes, index 2 is Gilgamesh. If I said print names.get1, it would print Hayes, the one at index 1. You can print everything in an array list, one on each line, using a regular for loop. So here's using the .size method. Int I equals 0, I less than names.size, and then we're saying print names.getI. That's just like, it would be just like if it was a regular array, but we said print names square bracket I. And then you also can do a for each or enhanced for loop with array lists. And so that looks just the same. It's no different. You say string n or whatever variable name you want. colon, and then the name of the array list, and then you can go ahead and print it. So that's handy. By the way, if you want to use array lists in a program, you have to add this line up at the top, import java.util.ArrayList. It's kind of like what we do with the scanner, right? It says import java.util.scanner when we want to use a scanner. I put this line in today's REPL files already, so you don't have to, but I just wanted to mention it because you might try to do something with an array list and then it says, I don't know what you're talking about, cannot find symbol. That would mean you need to add this import call at the top. So array lists only hold object data. That means you can't make an array list with int or a double or a Boolean. Those are, remember, called primitive variables, variable types. And I'm going to write myself a note here. Primitives are int, double, Boolean. Those are the only primitives that we're using in this class. There are other primitives. And then everything else is object data, or it's called reference or object or class data. Those three terms are thrown around. So, but I hope you remember, maybe in a distant little corner of your memory, we already learned about capital I integer, that class that lets us put integers into an array list. So if you wanted to make an array list with just regular numbers in it, you would do what I'm showing right here, array list, and then the little symbols with a capital I integer. That's, you're allowed to put capital I integers or capital D doubles or capital B Booleans into an array list. So, and then you just work with it like it was just a regular number. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, so I say then you just can add. So scores.add 38 just adds it and turns it into a capital I integer object. Seems like a lot of work, but it doesn't require much work on our part, just that we remember the capital I integer. Okay, so we're going to practice now. And we're going to practice. I haven't posted it yet, so give me a second. We're going to do this ArrayList 1 REPL. I'm going to post it on the Google Classroom. I've got it all queued up. And after about 15 minutes, we'll do some more notes. We're going to talk about some of the other things we can do with array lists. So I just wanted everyone to get some hands-on experience before I go on and on and on. So and I am saying, if you finish this REPL early, like you could maybe finish it in 8 minutes, and I'm waiting 15 minutes to start our next notes. Make another array list with capital I integers. Do your own. Try something out. Fool around with it a little bit. See if. Or honestly, sure, go to the kitchen and make yourself a piece of toast. But don't go far away, because we're gonna do some more notes. So okay, I posted it. Let's go ahead and do. And you can turn off your cameras if you want. We're gonna do ArrayList 1. The slide deck is on there. The slide deck actually covers our next slides as well. So if you were looking at that, just ignore the second half of the slide deck for now. There's also a video where I do ArrayList 1. Okay. Okay, let's do it. I'll start a timer. So again, if you finish everything, I encourage you to make an integer array and add some things. Maybe try to find the max and min or the sum of all the elements in the array list. Unless you have something else you really want to be doing. We got about 8 more minutes. Hey, and it, definitely send me a chat if you're yeah, Alonso, send me a link. All right, I'm taking a look, Alonso. Yeah. So it's your line 8, Alonso. I'll fix it. But you have to say new and then, oh, I can't fix it. But I'll send you what it needs to be. Yeah, anyone having trouble, send me a chat. And I'm working it all out on the screen here. Print. Print. Len. Boy, just having some trouble here. Oh, indented 2 spaces. So if you're running into any trouble, let me know. Got another couple minutes. I see only a third of you have turned it in. So we'll definitely, I don't want you to panic about the time. I'll give you a little more time, but push it along. And let me know if you're stuck. Well, that's disappointing. I forgot to pause the recording, but there you go. I'll pause it now. Okay, people. So it's okay if you're not done, but could you take a break from working on the REPL and go back to the screen share, my screen share, and we're going to talk about just more methods that we can use with ArrayLists. So I've got that. Officially, this is our notes called ArrayList Methods, section 7.2. So far we already learned size, .size, and .add, and then here's the list of all the methods you need to know about ArrayLists. So I start with size, and then add, and for this write-up, I'm using the small letter E to symbolize whatever we're adding to the array list. So there's two versions of add. You can look here. I'm going to give examples of everything, but there's two versions of add. One, the one I taught you already, just throws it on the end, and the other one inserts it at wherever you asked it to go. So if you had 100 things in the list already and you wanted to put something at spot 5, you could say add 5, comma, and then the thing, and it would insert that thing at 5 and bump everything else up. Everything, you know, above it would get one higher number. And then there's the set command, which replaces a specific object with a new object. So that's like if you had the item at element 5, you didn't want that one there anymore. You wanted to replace it with something else. You would use the set command. And then there's get, which we already did. That's for getting something to print it or access it and then change it. And then finally, there's one called remove, which gets rid of whatever is at that spot. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to talk you through all of them. So list.size, I already talked about this. It's like .length for a string or .length with no parentheses for an array. And here's the good news. I promise for this class, there's no other ways to find out how long something is. So ArrayLists.size, strings, .length with parentheses on the end, and arrays, .length without parentheses on the end. It's just these three ways. And seriously, they didn't invent Java to torture us, but there you go. So we already learned the regular .add. It takes whatever's in the parentheses and adds it to the end. And here's a different version of add. You give an integer and then comma and then the object. So this adds, as I said, at a particular spot and bumps everything above it higher. So I think we're going to do this in just a sec. I'm going to give you live examples. And then there's set. It's replacing, as I said, get gives you access to it, and remove deletes it. So it being whatever. So I have a little helper REPL I want everyone to open and then just watch while I do things in it. Okay, so this will be one time where I intentionally don't fork the project. So you can see, you know, while I'm typing, you'll go, oh yeah, I see what he's doing. So it's still posting. Okay, it is posted now. It's called day 53 ArrayLists. So I gotta update. Hello. Notes help. Here we go. So just open up the REPL and watch, please. I'm going to just give you examples of all these things, and you'll have this as a reference later. So I'm going to make, oh, I've got a little to-do list here, which I'll put on another window so I won't forget anything I wanted to do. Sorry for all that. Here we go. So I'm going to create an array list of student objects. actually, before I do that, let's take a look. There's a student class down here in this file. So students have a first name, a last name, and a GPA. When you create a student, you just send over the first and last name. You can set the GPA, you can get the GPA, and then there's a toString. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna create an array list of student objects, not students, but student. I'm gonna call it school. Make it so it doesn't wrap around. Just listen, don't fork this. So just follow along, just watch. It's kind of like, because I'll be able to run it and you'll see what's going on. I'm going to add several student objects. So school.add new student. And in here, I'm going to say Mr. Hayes. Okay, so then we're going to make sure this works. So we should get a school array list printed with one name in it. Oh, and I have a GPA of 0. So I'm going to put my little black dog in, and I'm going to put, I probably have told you that one of my sons filled out some form when he was in leadership class like 6 years ago with the name Bobby Hayes, and I still get junk mail, like credit card applications for Bobby Hayes. There is no Bobby Hayes. Oh boy. Okay, so I made a school array list. I added 3 new students. So take a look at how I added these. Because the students didn't exist already, I had to just inside this add command say new student and then say who I wanted to add. Alternatively, let me show you this. I could say student X equals new student. And then I could add, say school.add X. And this is another way to do it, but that would take 2 lines for each student I was trying to add to the array list. So it's, if you're trying to add a bunch, you would just put them in the add call. All right. I want to show you how to modify an object. This is going to be interesting. So school.get 0. I don't like that I'm in there with a GPA of 0. So I'm going to go to my college GPA, which was 3.87. So here I said school.get item 0 being me, and I do .set GPA 3.87, and that is that method calls set GPA on the Mr. Hayes object and changes my GPA. You can see it over here on the right. Instead of being a GPA of 0, I've got a GPA of 3.87. Any questions? I want to remove my doc. So school.remove 1. Dog was the second one. So there won't be Gilly anymore. We just have me, Bobby, and Malcolm. I want to add a new person at item 1. So I'm going to say school.add. I'm going to say 1 comma new student. You'll see this, so it's like inserting this new student at index 1. So now Lyra comes after Mr. Hayes. I'm gonna do this after the print, and I want to remind you to print with the enhanced for loop. You would just say for student, S is fine, school, system.out.println s. So this will print it before I make the change and then after. So you can see the original array list. It's Hayes, Malcolm, X, and then I added the student at item 1, so they're at index 1. And then if I wanted to replace somebody, we're going to use that set command. So school.set. I want to replace myself, 0. So item 0 is going to get replaced with new student, a student. It's a very creative name. And then we'll print it out again, just a standard print call. So now you can see, instead of having me be there at the beginning, we've got a student, brand new student. And I think the last thing I wanted to just show you again was how to print everything with a regular for loop. So int I equals 0, I less than school.size with parentheses, I plus plus. Because there's only one command in here, I'm not doing curly brackets. And here we say school.get item I. And that'll print them out, one on a line like we did before. Here's a student, Lyra, Bobby, Malcolm. Any questions? I just want you to see, these different commands, particularly the add with an index, the set, and the remove, because we hadn't done those before.